another thing. If that Jeff McKinney shows his face one more time, he's out.
Oh, man.
All right, let me know when we're going live.
Okay, in 3. All right, here we go. Nope.
Hey, this is Billy Belts with Lost Cause Meadery. You're listening to the We Like Drinking podcast, where you never drink alone.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
Thank you for joining us for the award-winning We Like Drinking podcast, episode 193. In this episode, we'll be discussing working out your brain with wine, and we're getting the lowdown on Frisco brandy with Charlie O'Connell. So crack open your beers, uncork that wine, pour yourself a little Frisco, and let's get drinking. All right, John is apparently the hidden voice on some kind of TV show. He's blocking his face out with his phone. So that must
No,
mean
it's my tablet.
Oh, look at this. John's upgraded from his phone to his tablet to record the show.
I'm recording on the phone.
Mhm.
I'm getting some slap back.
Yeah, you sound like you're recording on the moon.
All right, so cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 193 of the We Like Drinking podcast, the only award-winning and topical beer and wine education podcast, whatever the hell this thing is, focusing on fun. And if you like what you're hearing in this episode, please consider helping us out by becoming a Patreon of the show. Visit welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you, yes, you, could get in on this action. All right, guys. You guys ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Ready? I am born ready. I have been ready.
Let's do it.
First call.
There it is.
First call.
There it is. That's the kind of energy I'm looking for. All right, let's find out who we're drinking with tonight. And John yawns. Why not? We've got our prolific wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Thank you so much for lying.
Sporadically.
Hello.
Sporadically prolific.
We've got our punctual beer brewer, John Ruyak.
Hey, folks.
And I am your host, Jeff Eccles. And tonight, folks, our guest is the founder and driving force behind Frisco brandy, a Pisco-based brandy. Notice the resemblance there. Popular in Chile and Peru, that unlike most brandy you see is clear and not aged in barrels. He has had adventures all over the world and is now living his latest I don't even know what I wrote here. He is now creating his latest whatever. This is horrible. Creating his craft brandy with an American twist. He is Charlie O'Connell. How you doing, Charlie?
Thanks, Jeff. I think I'm doing real well, man. Happy to be here. And
I just
take the mic away from you for a little bit. It's cool.
I just read what's on the teleprompter. That's pretty much how it goes.
San Diego.
Yeah, the only problem is that you write what's on the teleprompter too, Jeff.
No, that's what really goes all wrong.
That's awesome.
All right, so there's our first edit for the show, but let's find out what we're drinking tonight. John, let's start with you.
Oh, I picked up a bottle of Tangerine Express.
Oh,
Stone Tangerine Express.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, I hope it's better than that Scorpion Bowl I had last week.
I hope so too. Jeff Solomon.
Hey, I am also drinking a brewski. Y'all remember our favorite label right here? This is the Founder's Breakfast Stout. It's a double chocolate coffee oatmeal stout coming in at 8.3%, 60 IBUs. And I believe, there were some shenanigans going on with a congressman somewhere that wanted to get this in his bar, but the label went against their state laws. Do you remember that story? That was my favorite.
It was in New Hampshire, I believe.
In New Hampshire. And man, Jim Myers was so frustrated by that one.
Yes, he was. Charlie.
I've been at hockey tournaments where Jim drinks beer with his oatmeal.
That's true. Charlie, we even need to ask, but what is in your glass this evening?
I've just got a glass of ice with Frisco in it. And it's my own little brandy. And this, by the way, is 45% ABV. So,
ooh,
I know. I got to call an Uber tonight for my going out.
You got to call an Uber to get from your living room to your bedroom. I like it.
Struggle's real.
I'm kind of repeating here. I'm going with the Ska Brewing Decadent Imperial IPA that I had a couple weeks ago. So,
nice. How's the horn section?
It's fantastic.
Shouldn't you be drinking that from a trombone, you square?
Square, I gonna make the symbol for the square there.
You're at L7, brah.
All right, excellent. So welcome to the show, everybody. Super happy to have you here. Before we get to the interview portion with Charlie, let's make sure everybody's got their wits about them tonight with grape, hop, or pop culture reference. This is where I give these guys a term and they try to tell me if it's a wine grape, a beer hop, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is Mathon. So is Mathon a wine grape, a beer hop, or a pop culture reference? Jeff, I think we started with you last week, didn't we?
I don't think we did. So no. I'm just gonna take the honors and ask, how do you spell Mathon?
Mathon.
It's been a while since you've had a pop culture reference. And I don't know if you know this or not, like near the turn of the millennium, I was, while going to college, I was working at a record store in San Jose, California. Shout out to Streetlight Records for no particular reason. So I know that this is a pop culture reference. There was an artist who went solo. He was originally in an R&B group called Drew Hill. That was the name of the group. It's a weird name. And the artist's name was Cisco.
Okay.
Which, by the way, rhymes with, well, it's close to Frisco, so I'll give you that. And he sang a song about my thong. This is a reference to the thong song by Cisco from I believe the year was it 99? I'm going to say it was 1999. And on top of that, I will also say that if it's not that, it's a white wine grape from Greece.
Okay. You've been trying to get the thong song into a show for like 6 weeks now. So
love it when the booty goes.
All right. So John Ruyak.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay. Now, you know me. Solomon goes long-winded, and I'm just going to say it's a wine grape from France that's used in making brandy.
Oh, that would have been pretty smart on my part. All right. So Charlie, Mathon, wine grape, beer hop, pop culture reference.
I got to back up the pop culture reference.
All right.
Dong, dong. Dumps like what?
All right. Well done, everyone. Well done. Mathon is, in fact, a beer hop.
Ooh.
No one got it.
Shut out.
It happened in a long time. It is an English variety of the White Bine series. And apparently it's been around for ages, John Ruyak. Mathon. All right. right, now that everybody's good and
I'm gonna
loose,
sprinkle some of that on my Stone Tangerine Express.
there you go. Now that everybody's ready to go with this, let's do this. Charlie O'Connell, my friend from the Frisco. You, my friend. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested, Frisco. It's spelled like Frisco, right?
It's spelled Frisco. Yeah, we accent the I, but it is spelled Frisco.
Yes.
So that's what you're going to see.
So visit friscobrandy.com to find out more, to visit their website. You can also find them on Instagram and Facebook, all at Frisco Brandy. But when you talk to them, it's Frisco Brandy. So Charlie, you, my friend, are an adventurer, I have to say.
There you go. I try. I seek it out, man. I seek it out. I want new things.
I see that you've been around this beautiful planet of ours. You've done all kinds of adventures. You've lived in Singapore, I believe. You've lived in Chile. You've lived in New York. Now you're in San Francisco. How does all of that lead you to starting up a brandy company?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I gotta say, like, hasn't always been intended that I'm going to end up everywhere. It just kind of happens. Right. I think that, and same with the brandy. The whole idea of this is that I just keep doing things, and then if it works out, I just go with it. It's like sometimes you just gotta say what the fuck kind of attitude on it, right? Like, don't fight it. Just like, all right, let's just give it a shot and see where this goes. And that's how it's all come about. So one thing, we're always looking for taglines, right? And one of our early taglines for Frisco, which was globally inspired, American made. Ooh. And that was because, I studied abroad in Chile, and I was in college, and my host brother and I, would go out on Wednesdays. And he couldn't go on I would go out on the weekends, but he was in a wheelchair. So on weekdays, we would go out. That'd be our Wednesday night. And we would just get lit on Piscola. And they would sell you a 1 liter bottle of Pisco. And it came with a 2 liter bottle of Coca-Cola. I'm pretty sure the Coca-Cola cost more than the Pisco we were drinking. It was all bubbled up. I mean, it was kind of like, Jeff and Gilroy, you live in the Bay. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like, kind of fun bags that they sell at some of the bodegas, but it's like a kit, right? They have like basically a pint of rum along with like Coca-Cola and like some gum and some other stuff. It's kind of like that. It's pre-packaged. You're gonna have a good time.
Oh yeah, well that's what I put in my piñatas.
Adult piñata. I've actually done that with lotto tickets too. Like, we had adult only piñatas. It was my friend's birthday. She was 27. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I lived in Chile and I fell in love with Pisco. And then I came back and I was like, look, this stuff is so good. It's this clear, grape-based liquor. It doesn't have too much taste. It's not too offensive. It burned a little bit in Chile, but I really liked it. It's super mixable. You can mix with Coca-Cola, you mix with soda water, tonic, and make great slushies. But it's nowhere to be found in the States.
Right.
Nowhere. And brandy in general is kind of like one of those, it's either, a $7 bottle of E&J kind of thing, or you're getting $80 or above for the most part. And there was just no medium prices for it. I looked at importing it, way too hard to do. I didn't know enough about that. I was like 22. I was like, ugh. So
like every 22.
Yeah, I was 22. I just didn't have the responsibility or the understanding or the capital to do it, right?
Right.
So I did what other people do in New York when you can't figure out an inspiring thing. I went and worked in finance for a couple of years. And it's what you do, right? Like, I'm born in the area. You grow up in the shadow of Wall Street, and it was fun. And then the great financial crisis happened. So, there was no jobs, and someone's like, "Hey, you studied in Latin America. You worked with emerging markets. Do you want to go to Singapore for a while?" I was like, "Yeah, I do. I don't really speak Asian, but I'd like to go." Like, it's cool. They speak English. And I ended up going there for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I had this crazy job. It was great. I worked with GE was kind of winding down in the financial crisis, and they had all these. You think of GE as like General Electric, but there's GE Capital, and they own a ton of shipping. So I worked with the shipping containers, and it's kind of cool because it looks like three-dimensional Tetris. Like when you're actually looking at shipping containers,
Yeah.
It's wild, right? And like, it's also really interesting working with a physical thing compared to just like other finance jobs where you're like, oh, this could be anything. Like you're like, no, this is something, and the value is really clear because it moves things to other places, and it creates this global trade, right? And that brought me to the Bay Area because Oakland and San Francisco were the heads of shipping in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So we acquired a company in Oakland, and I kind of oversaw that for a while. And I was going back and forth between Singapore and San Francisco. And I happened to meet a younger cousin of mine, Woody, and he had gone to UC Davis. And I was like, yo, well, he's going to UC Davis. Like, hey, you know a lot about wine. What do you know about brandy? I know nothing about brandy. I know nothing, but I'm willing to learn. And so we basically started Breaking Bad without the homicide in Santa Rosa. I mean, we had like a hot plate and garden hoses, and we would take like leftover Zin that he had made last season and just be like, oh, don't go blind, don't go blind, don't go blind.
Oh, that's magical.
Yeah, right. It was, and now none of that was sold, right, or anything. I mean, it was just like, okay, I have to say that in case the TTB hears, but
right.
This was all strictly a figment of the imagination. But it was just funny, right? And then eventually we kind of had some stuff that didn't taste quite like turpentine. I mean, the first batch tasted like one of the California raisins had drank a bottle of vodka and then take a piss. It was like, I still have two of them. And it's just the color, it's just weird, But a year and a half later, we got a pretty good recipe. And my mom was like, look, you've been working doing finance for years, and you haven't been happy for the last couple of years. You'd be like, no kids and no mortgage. So just give it a shot, give it 2 years. And, and she said, my father and I will help invest a little bit and help you get off the ground with this. And so I took some of my savings and then invested some money to make like a first batch, right?
Okay. Yep.
And that was a pallet of glass. We made 1,000 bottles, and it is so inefficient to make 1,000 bottles. There's no way you're gonna make money, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a fun thing, and it's the lowest amount you can really make. You're gonna make something real. So we made that 1,000 bottles, and my other friend Esteban is a designer from Parsons, and he designed the label, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you can go to the website, or you can go on Instagram, and you'll see like, okay, so we got these 3 like jokers really who've never really worked in this industry, whatever, and we're just like coming up with this, and I'm doing it pretty much full time. The other guys have their other thing, but like I'm just like devoted to this, just giving it fun. And we were with Kylie, who you guys have talked to, Kylie Barnett, who's awesome, super outgoing, super energetic and positive. And she's like, guys, this is great. You should submit it to the Wine Enthusiast. They've got a brandy thing coming up. We're like, what are you even talking? We don't even have enough bottles, so I can barely send them anything, right? And also, I don't know if I'm paid for shipping and handling and enter the Wine Enthusiast. That's like $300. But we did. And we ended up winning a 92. We won best price. And then we also won top 100 spirits in 2017.
Yep.
Which was awesome. I mean, we're just like, what is going on? This is just got to be a joke, right? Like, someone sent us a big magazine, or like, what's going on? This can't be real. And then we decided to just wrap it up, kick it up a notch. And then we start working with some real professionals, which is pretty cool because they actually made our product even better. Nice. We worked with some guys who've got a superior water quality. The grapes now come from the Central Valley. So like I was saying, they're down from around Lido area. They're sustainably farmed Muscat grapes from California. The still they work on is amazing. There's a lot of cool stuff to it. This is so weird. The still was originally used, I think, in Oregon to make jet fuel in World War II, and actually has like capillary expansion. So those like pieces of paper that they like draw on to show movement of gases.
Yeah,
it creates those. No one even makes those anymore. It costs them like 10 grand if it breaks, but it's a total like luxury item that the owners wanted. Nice. And then you go in the back, and there's a whole mass spectrometer readout from a computer that just you wouldn't even see, right? But the facade is this old like Cincinnati Vulcan steel, and it's really cool. And it's steel rivets on a copper base, so it's an alembic copper still that feeds into a chamber because it's a double distilled product, and it's just amazing. They nailed the juice, and then we bottle with these guys up in Ukiah, who's like a 12th generation distiller from Serbia, and he is just super, super intense and totally right on. I mean, he has a great water basis, and it's funny, but when you're doing a distilled product that's clear, right, it's unaged, water is hugely important.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you really want those minerals and that body in it, right? So that adds a lot of content. And then, we let it sit for about 2 months in stainless steel. And then we add a little bit of charcoal on the end, and that's just them to taste. And it's not even a filtration, because that would kind of remove all the taste.
Yeah.
So you still have a lot of this nice kind of vibrant flavor that's going on. It's a little bit of, you can't really describe, like grape, but almost papaya. It's really muted, and then has a really full body, and the finish is incredibly smooth. And like it's great. So the new batch actually also won gold and best in class in the LA International Spirits Competition.
Nice.
It was amazing. And thank God, because we made a shit ton of it. So I was really nervous, because when you go up to scale, so we started with the pallet of glass, and then 9 months later, I bought a container of glass.
Whoa.
Which is like, yeah. Because we got all these good reviews.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of product to sell. And I was like, and when you switch, you're not sure what it's going to be like, but you can't make a small amount.
Right.
And, we hadn't even sold the first pallet when I was like, started ordering stuff. I'm like, I just believe in this. We're going to kill it. And like, thank God the flavor is even better. Because otherwise I'd be in so much trouble. I mean, it'd be ridiculous. But it's going. It's cool. We got the product down. So now we just gotta build up the sales team. And I'm actually, after this, I'm gonna go to a bar in San Francisco and hire a new guy for sales in the Bay Area, which is pretty exciting.
Wow. I can tell that you believe in the product, and I look at like your just go for it attitude. You're talking about how like, oh, I got all these good reviews, and so now we got to step it up to the next level. And all I'm thinking is, my personality, I'd actually be kind of pissed if they gave me a good review, because I'm like, shit, now I got to get to work.
For reals, right? I know.
But wow, that's. Charlie, this is so cool, man. Like I'm really fired up just because, I know that your product is available in California. How can everybody get a hold of Frisco Brandy where they're at?
Well, if you're in California and New York, we're for sale. Soon in Florida as well. And then also you can just go to our website, and there are retailers that will ship multi-state areas. And I think the best deal is if you buy like 3 bottles, because it's like a 3 bottle is the size of the case kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can do a mix and match from other bottles in the shops as well. But
so we've been talking about the Pisco and how you're like, we can't really find it here in the States. So if somebody's not familiar with what Pisco is, because you're a Pisco inspired brand, can you explain a little bit about what exactly Pisco is?
Yeah, happy to. Pisco is the national drink of Chile or Peru, and it actually is it's a distilled wine. So if you think about whiskey coming from distilled beer, brandy is just distilled wine.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple like rumors about why it came about. One is a theory that the Spanish Empire was taxing wine in the colonies because they were starting to compete with Spanish wines. So the Peruvians and the Chileans started distilling it. And the other thought is that, and this is kind of my opinion too, is that if you just think about things, this kind of goes to my shipping career, right? But you think about the American frontier also. There's a reason you see whiskey on the American frontier, but you don't see a lot of beer, right?
Right.
Because the amount of whiskey or Pisco in a barrel is equal to about 16 barrels of beer, right? So no merchant is going to carry like wine from the foothills of the Andes to the coast. Just like doesn't really make sense. So then why not just concentrate it and then bring each in a separate unit? And that's what it was. Because also traditionally a lot of brandy was the swill, and even Pisco, right? It wasn't the prize wine. It was like the leftover wine that you had. Ours, by the way, is different than that. We have a wine recipe that we give to people. They make our wine to order, and then we turn that into the brandy.
Okay.
And siphons off quickly. But yeah, so Pisco started in Chile and Peru, and there's the Pisco Sour, which is a huge drink. But fun enough, it actually is a huge town, the town of San Francisco, because before the Panama Canal was open, ports would go around and they'd go through the Straits of Magellan, and as they'd come up, from Europe to San Francisco, they would stop in Lima and Valparaiso outside in Chile. And there they would just, trade goods, unload things. The only booze they had really was Pisco. So they'd have these barges, the sailboats or barges pulling in San Francisco, and they just had loads of Pisco on it. So the Pisco Punch, which is like a hugely popular drink back in the day, and still is, which is Pisco pineapple gum syrup or pineapple juice basically, and lemon juice, was created in San Francisco.
Okay.
I mean, and during the 1890s, when there was a lot of trade going on, and before the Panama Canal, Pisco was quite popular. There actually was domestic kind of Pisco production in certain areas of California, and then during post Panama Canal, and then during Prohibition, it basically got wiped out. People just forgot about it, and that's also you see the birth of like gin was because bathtub gin was being made. And Pisco is a little more subtle. Brandy in general can be a little more subtle because it is grape. Mm-hmm. So, it's seasonal. I mean, I have to do, when I told you guys I made like one big order, it's because also there's only one real time I can get it.
Right.
I want the consistent quality. Whereas if you're doing like a grain base, like a whiskey or a gin, like not to slight those, but like, you got a stable product.
Yeah.
And the grain. And wine is grape juice, and then wine, they're constantly moving and evolving in different ways. So you really want to dial that in and just bam, get it when you can. Which is good in some ways because it means my scale is easy. It's also really nerve wracking when you're like,
right.
Oh God, we got like 3 months of payroll. We got to do this.
And so then if somebody hasn't had, or somebody hasn't drank a lot of whiskey or brandy, I'm sorry, what's your recommended? Is this something you mix with cocktails? I know you're drinking it on the rocks tonight. How do you serve typically a Pisco brandy or Frisco brandy specifically?
I would actually start with ours in particular on the rocks. I think it's really nice and floral, but it's fantastic for cocktails. So, but we're also opening up the whole spectrum. So traditionally a cocktail is the Pisco Sour, which is, I use a 1/2 ounce lemon, lime, a little simple syrup, and a touch of egg white on it. And I've actually started working on a cocktail called the San Francisco Sour, which is like Pisco Sour with a little red wine float. And that's kind of inspired by the New York Sour, which is a whiskey sour with a red wine float. Yeah. It's really, really good because you have a little sweet up top and then the sweet sour and then the finish on the end. But people mix it with Coca-Cola. Like I was saying, my host brother and I mean, the Friscola is something we do. It's like a Cuba Libre. You just throw some lime in there. I also just found out on Wednesday, we got our lab results back. Our calorie count is about 72 calories per ounce on Frisco at
Really?
45%. So that means that we're on par with tequila. So I've called this cocktail the Frisco Basic, and it's Frisco and soda. There you
Nice.
go.
That's awesome. So it's not going to interfere with my ketogenic diet.
There you go. Frisco Slim. Frisco Slim.
A Frisco. John, Jeff, any other questions you guys have?
So what kind of grapes are used for the base wine?
We use a Muscat of Alexandria.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I was actually wondering, do they send you like a case of Muscat every year just to like kind of do a little comparison? Like, do you ever
we
do
get the sample? We do samples for sure, but honestly, it's also it's a double distilled product, and then there is a little carbon in there, right? So you're like, by the time it ends up, it's probably going to be pretty similar.
Oh, certainly.
And we we make it to our specs. So like there's no sulfides in anything. It's technically a fresh wine. So it's nothing you'd ever drink.
Yeah.
There's still like a lot of the process going on. It's kind of cloudy almost. And it's a little funky, but that's what you want, because when you're going through a double distillation process, you're basically, if you distilled it once more or twice more, you'd have something more similar to like a Ciroc vodka.
Mm-hmm.
Purely neutral spirit.
Yeah.
But this also has, it has a blend. So you still retain some of those flavors. And that also gives you a little bit more of the body. Really, it stands up in a cocktail incredibly nicely. And then that kind of adds a little bit coating. I honestly, when I made this, I thought it was like sugars. This is how like little I knew about this process. I was like, oh, there must be extra sugar, and that's why it's a little bit sweeter, or the blah blah blah. He's like, no, man, that's just an acid balance, and also the different types of alcohol that you're blending in there, and that's what. And that's how the calorie came out to be sold up, which is wonderful. But we are, autodidact distillers, I guess. It's been a trip.
So the wine shows up to your facility in a tanker truck?
Yes. Actually, I can show you. I should show you guys these photos. You clearly haven't been on our Instagram, John. But,
I am sorry, I was busy catching snakes over the weekend.
I hope that's not a euphemism, but it's okay.
No, it is. That's his thing.
That's my thing.
Catching snakes. Don't need to explain, John.
So, when I say that we started this, also like we did have a tanker come up, but also then like, how do we get like? So I have a warehouse. I don't, we use other people's distilleries, right? We don't have capital to buy distilleries, so we just use downtime. So I'm kind of like an Airbnb. Like I just go in when they're free and just crush it for like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had really basic things come up. So that was like a big picture thing. Like, all right, well, now how do we get the pallet of glass of finished bottles to our warehouse? Any ideas how we do that? I went on Zipcar and I got a like Super Duty Dodge Ram with like, honestly, it was like a 380 Super Diesel, and I drove it through downtown San Francisco with a pallet of finished bottles from the distillery to my warehouse. And people were like, what? Like, I had to let I was like, that's a big cab. I mean, you gotta like jump into those things. You're like, this is so cool. I was like the only time no one in San Francisco has tried to cut me off anywhere. It was great.
Well, come on, Solomon. You're really good at telling everybody else how to run their business. Come on.
What? Okay. No, I was actually, I will say I was really, really happy to hear as soon as we started interviewing you and as soon as I was reading about your product, how quickly you correct folks. If they say Frisco, you say, no, it's Frisco.
Frisco, yeah.
You make sure that that's the case. And obviously it's because of the homage to Pisco, but now also you living in San Francisco and folks living in the greater San Francisco Bay Area know that a really good way to get somebody like mad at you is to refer to the city as Frisco.
Oh, come on. That's old school. It's always
I know it's really my old man in their generation, but like you never call it Frisco, bro.
Oh, dude, well, also depend. Like, hey, man, I'll tell you, all my friends in the Mission and Excelsior, they call it Frisco, and you're not going to correct them.
Hey, man, my dad's called him out. He's going to meet him at the top of the stairs after school.
Yeah, exactly, right? Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't think your dad's going to do that from Italy, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say, that'd be a long trip to the top of the stairs.
This is true.
I got to do this.
By the way, listeners, as you're listening to me, I'm the best man in my dad's wedding. Right now, as you're listening, I'm in a wedding in Siena, Italy. So, you know, he's really pissed at me right now. Oh, look, just hold off. I'll be there in a second, bro.
All right, listeners. So again, we're talking to one Mr. Charlie O'Connell with Frisco Brandy, which you can find at Frisco Brandy, spelled like Frisco, friscobrandy.com.
But just make sure to call it Frisco.
Make sure to call it Frisco. Jeff or John, anything else before we move on?
Are you looking to possibly expand this to different types of brandy or barrel aged brandies at some time in the future?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question, and we are. I think some of it, it's not. We have a barrel aged product, so this is also funny. We're going to call it the California Brandy Company. Frisco is our main product, and it's also the easiest to produce. But I have intellectual property rights. I trademarked Frisco with an accent over the I. Whoa!
Yeah,
that's some area shit. Because like my IP is gonna be worth more than anything else, probably. But then we've got something we're working on. It's called California Cognac, and then with California with a K, and then Cognac with a K, and that's gonna be the aged product. And we're actually also looking at like accelerated aging processes through that, because instead of just using a traditional barrel age, trying to find the right blend of maybe using some like chips and styles that implants in that'll really absorb that flavor but still have a smoothness to it. And it's a work in progress, I'd say, but it's hopeful that we can get there in a couple of years, I think. And it's just better. I mean, I'll tell you what, honestly, like all the other aged product that's on the market has already been bought up by people like Gallo and Copper Kings who are blending it. So the big name guys have bought everything that's been sitting in barrel for years by small producers. We're just trying to find a way to get there. And that's our whole approach is like, with Frisco and everything we're doing, it's let's just have fun with this and see what happens. And we're kind of mad scientists about the way we do it. The other one we're going to do is we've also figured out that we can kind of do wine blends based on, or, wine inspiration brandies, right? And this will probably result in a couple sales, I think, with certain crowds. I think we're going to do a rosé for the spring, a limited release, like 2,000 bottle Cali Rose that'll come out in the spring. It's just like, it's going to be great. Super nice. It's basically a little bit of the Frisco base, and then we put a little tint on it, and you can do like a 2-month wash in a Syrah bottle, barrel, or something like that. But it all is about, keeping that immature product, but having like fun adventures and like, how do we do this? What is the California Brandy Company all about? Can we use like cool techniques to kind of create new things?
Are you thinking about having like now paying homage to like terroir of different areas of California? Like, do you think you might do like a I don't know, like a Mount Veeder and like a Stag's Leap or something like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, you can, it's almost it's also like Stag's Leap. Well, for names, yeah, we can totally do that, right? We can brand anything. And we could use a portion of those grapes on what we're doing. I think one of our other goals is to keep this reasonably priced. So our bottle is $35 on the shelf, which as I talked about is kind of in the middle of that night train and high end, super high end. So but it's also a kind of a sign of the times, right? I mean, when I came back, 2001, and I'd been studying abroad, I would never have thought that you could buy a $35 bottle of liquor and not feel ridiculous, or like a $12 cocktail. I mean,
right.
What is going on in the world, right? But
Yeah.
hey, I was here, so I mean, it's pretty reasonably priced given the things that are happening nowadays. I came back from college and defended Keystone Light to my friends back home. I think we drank better when we were stealing beer from our parents at school, and now it's like inverted. I don't know what's going on.
I think you should have a super premium line, and I think you should saber open about 15 cases of Screaming Eagle and distill that.
There you go.
You can sell that for about $1,500 a bottle. Well, no, you probably
saber it at home.
You sell like a little 10 milliliter vial that people can wear from their neck. $500.
Would that be like Billy Bob Thornton's blood?
Yeah, exactly. That's the blood vial.
Okay, we left the rails 45 seconds ago, so let's try to get back on them here. All right, Charlie, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Any one question each, if you still got one.
Yeah, just one thing as you expand the profile. No garlic brandy. I don't think we're good.
Are you allowed to stay in Gilroy after you say that? Or are you banned?
I am. I tell you, there's a strong contingent of look, garlic is for cooking, and don't try to put it in other stuff. I'm sorry. There's
you can only say this in Italy. Once you go back, though,
there's a brewery down the street that made a garlic beer, and it was like, what's the point? No. Why? What's the point, man? And it was all right for a garlic beer, but why? And I'm sorry, all those garlic infused olive oils. I know this is a totally different thing, but it's like it's so different. You're cooking with olive oil and garlic anyways. Why do you need it? You like the taste of garlic in your olive oil? Chop up some fucking garlic. That's like getting cheese infused macaroni.
Charlie,
why?
Charlie.
Yes.
Don't bring up the garlic wine around Jeff.
Sorry, man. No, I'm Charlie. In all honesty, I'm really stoked that you're on the show, and I'm excited to, my sister gave me some shit. She's like, you guys don't talk enough about spirits on here. And I think we're all kind of fired up to really not just expand our spirit profiles, but really to get down on some Piscos and some domestic Friscos.
Yeah, there you go.
John, one last question. Are you good?
Well, I just wanted to say that, I know that the whole wood chip thing, as far as kind of getting that oak flavor into wines, can work well in a quick. There's a lot more surface contact when you're using chips inside of a steel fermenter, and this an Ocasa Real up here in Algodones, New Mexico, does that. So that's I would be interested to see a product like that from you guys. That would be really intense. As a product suggestion, you might want to consider a smoked whale testicle beer.
Oh.
There it is. Distill that down to something. All right.
Yeah, smoky.
All right, Charlie. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us tonight. We're going to move on with the rest of the show. We hope you can stick around with us, but we understand if you got to take off.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I actually have that. I have to meet that guy, a new salesperson. I have to do that at 9. So,
okay.
Yeah, so this is kind of perfect timing. I'm going to be a late start, but I really appreciate being on here. You guys have been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to finally give you guys some Frisco. I know this is a last minute meetup, so I'm gonna send it to you. You'll get some care packages, including our Frisco Disco drinkware. I'll make that.
Oh,
yes, I saw that on your site. I am stoked for that. You're going to have a podcast of 3 dudes drinking out of some Frisco disco balls.
Well,
I saw that. I'm like, damn.
I know.
Awesome.
From the marina to the
We'll
Castro.
get to your meeting. Thank you again for joining us, and we will drink with you later.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Night.
Bye, Charlie.
All
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you very much.
Ciao. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So, Charlie, again, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're going to move on with the rest of the nonsense and get into booze news. We discuss interesting, noteworthy, or sometimes some pretty idiotic stuff. This week, man, dude. All right, if you've got your Lagunitas High Five water with you, you might want to get into that for this discussion. So this comes to us from NBCnews.com.
Fake news.
Wine. Here's the lead in. Wine tasting can work the brain more than math, according to neuroscience. So my initial thought is, yeah, one is awesome and one sucks. But no, that's not what you. No, actually, I love math. But so this is talking about. It's a pretty interesting discussion, talking about how drinking wine, and I shouldn't say that, tasting wine critically, like getting your nose into it, the stuff that we do on this show can engage your brain more than something like doing math problems can. And how they described it is the concentrated discrimination of the taste of wine is what allows this to happen. And it's because it's involving multiple sensory and motor systems. It's involving your sense of smell, your sense of taste, your sight. It's engaging everything in order to try to determine what you're experiencing.
Yeah, better word than tasting. I get that.
Yes. And as well as central conceptual systems, cognition, memory. So your emotions, and pleasure. So you're bringing all these things are having to work together to get this done. Whereas with, something like reading or something like math, you're engaging fewer systems. And that's why these scientists say that. These are scientists from like Yale University and whatnot. So
Yale
that's
schmale.
Yeah. So that's one piece of it. And then it kind of took a bit of a twist. I don't know why, but then the rest of the article talked about how, and I guess it does kind of bring it all together because, and we've talked about on the show how your sense of smell and your sense of taste and all this, it's pretty subjective, right? It's based on experiences and whatnot. And it talks about how the flavor or how we perceive anything is not real, if you will, and how it's something that your brain creates. So purple isn't really purple, right? It's how your brain translates light images and creates purple, right?
Mega purple.
It creates mega purple, right? So this was a bit of a long article, but I found this interesting, and we've talked about things like this before, so I had to get your guys' take on it. So Jeff Solomon.
There's a lot of different levels a lot of layers to this onion, if you will. A lot of layers to this garlic bulb.
This was a huge article.
So I want to start with wine tasting, being like a more powerful brain workout than math. I do think there's a lot of merit to it. Before I get too much into that, I will say one of the things that, here I am and I'm going to call myself a scientist because I'm a science teacher, so that counts. As a scientist, I think the biggest gripe that we might ever have with mainstream media is they really shit the bed when it comes to talking about things of a scientific nature when they say things like, science proves or science says, as if it's like some person that has this thing to say. Like I just that
there's a pulp of science somewhere, and he or she said this.
Because the reality is, I mean, unless you're talking about the physical laws of the universe, you can really take all these things, and that's what's beautiful about science is there really is, it's your interpretation of the facts that are in front of you, which that does really matter. So I will say that. That being said, the research is on some level fascinating, and on some level I'm like, well, no duh. And I say it in this sense because you could go into, I don't even care, go into like AP Calculus BC classroom where they're all just super engaged and super into the math that they're doing, and just get a brain scan going. Go ahead, and then walk into that room with I know it's about wine. I was just thinking, since there's a lot of folks with like a keg of beer, and then watch them get really excited.
right.
So no, I think the thing is, it's like, and I love math too, and I love the idea of like solving problems. But when you're truly tasting and evaluating wine, I think you really are solving problems to this totally like open-ended thing. This is not like wine tasting isn't even like a guided type of inquiry. This is like an open-ended thing. Like, you don't know what's coming out the other end of this. I had a weird
cheese burritos.
I was gonna say I had a weird visual as I was saying that. But so I totally get that, and I can see like imagery of like neurons firing, and it reminds me of the very first season of one of my favorite podcasts, Invisibilia. They were following a guy that was blind that basically essentially teaches blind people how to see. And we can say that, like, here's this guy that's blind that's riding a bicycle, and he's like, it's really not that big of a deal. And like, you can take blind people and you can image their brains as you put objects in the room, and they're using echolocation, and they're firing on the exact same parts of your brain, right? So the idea really is that your brain builds whatever it needs to make sense of the world around it. And it's not that, of course we all have limitations, but what we need to understand is that there's still all this space in our brain that's important, and it'll use that space to do other things and conjure images and conjure ideas, right? Like, I can see my dad's face right now, and it's because I'm in the middle of his wedding right now, and he's very annoyed.
Walking down the aisle at you right now.
You should not be doing a podcast in the middle of your dad's wedding.
I'm sorry, but I've got it. Commitment is commitment. Your wedding's gonna have to wait, sir. And like, the thing is, I can imagine exactly what somebody looks like right now as I'm looking at you and talking to you, right? Like, our brain has the ability to build these images. I'm thinking about interviews with evolutionary biologists talking about why does essentially, when we talk about smells, a smell doesn't exist within a molecule. It exists within the organism and their interpretation. Do you think that rotten trash smells good? No, but a dung beetle loves it, right? And so to think that they're actually perceiving the same scent as you, they're not. It's the molecule in their brain is building a different image. So all of this makes sense to me, and it's all just so fascinating. And I think that's what I love about beer and wine and spirits, is that we're talking about sense, memory, and imagery and science. It's beautiful. I'm the best. Mic drop. All right, Dad, you can go. We can do the wedding now.
John, but not too loud because you don't want to interrupt the I do's.
Is that the wedding processional?
And John, can you move the mic a little closer to your mouth?
Is that the wedding processional I hear? So all that stuff that Jeff said, I totally agree with. My perception of Mega Purple is maybe totally different than your perception of Mega Purple, but we've all built separate but relational databases within our own brains that I associate that experience with that color or that taste. So we may perceive it different, and through your eyes, that color may be different. If I would be able to see what you see, it would be different than I would experience myself. But because we've learned that through it's almost like blockchain. It's how Bitcoin works, right?
Whoa!
I'm not shitting you about that.
I picked the perfect day to open up one of these hi-fi hops cakes. This is awesome.
Is the dress white or is it blue?
It's blue, but that's another.
But and I was going to use that example before. I mean, in the beginning, because perception is individual, but learned and accepted as a group. And to the original point about tasting wine, tasting beer, tasting spirits, tasting food as a more complex math or workout for your brain than math, I would say is completely true. Kind of an example of that in a very simple case would be, how do you pronounce it? Sudoku puzzle?
How do you pronounce it? Come on. Yes, that's correct. Sudoku.
No, I said Sudoku. There's one O and two U's. Anyway, you're doing math, but you're also reasoning out other things at the same time in order to make the puzzle work.
Right.
So it's not just the fact that there's an 8 missing in that row. Does that screw up an 8 missing being in that cube in that square, that 3x3 square at the same time? So yeah, I can see where that, it's all interrelational within your own brain. It's a way bigger workout than just adding 2 + 2. That's, I don't know. That's like, that's when you just do math, that's like smelling a pot that's on the burner in your kitchen that doesn't have anything in it. You just smell the heat. But when you're tasting wine and beer, there's spices in there. There's meat, there's vegetables, all those things that just are combining into that shared experience within your own brain and the brains of everybody else that smell and taste it.
This segment was brought to you by only the finest sun-dried California cannabis. It's a sativa indica blend.
This has honestly been one of my favorite discussions we've ever had. That was deep, yo. That was good stuff, man. I mean, like that was good. I enjoyed that. And so obviously from there we have to go to bum 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 bum.
Oh yeah. This is a
bit strange, ladies and gentlemen, because we were recording on Monday night this week. So there's like probably football still happening.
Yeah, I think that the games are finally they're ending now. Yeah, so it looks like the game is over. Chicago beat Seattle 24-17. Wow. And you know who else took a beating?
That would be me.
Yeah, that would be one John Ruyak of the Smoked Whale Testicles.
Oh, and I'm not on it. Hold on.
Waiting for your thing. And I will say that, I took a beating last week from the main Jeff. I'm happy to announce that now I'm batting 500. I scored 149 points this week. Main Jeff only scored 148. So suck it, foo.
Because apparently I didn't listen to you.
I knew I was going to be. I knew I was going to be out in the middle of freaking nowhere, Kansas.
That's right. I get a text.
I'm like, my quarterback Ben Roethlisberger is questionable. I'm like, oh man, they do this shit all the time. What do I do? So the Bills are my team. Growing up, I grew up 3 miles from the stadium. They're playing the Chargers and they're playing a rookie quarterback. It could be awesome or it could be shit. Well, it turned out to be shit, and Ben Roethlisberger played anyway and would have got me 44 points, in which case I would have beat your ass. Solomon.
Yeah, I always advise benching the starting quarterback of the home team favored to win in the highest over-under of the week. Really good job.
They lost.
I will also say it was so fun getting a text from Jeff Eccles Sunday morning asking me for advice.
I saw that.
Should I start Deshaun Jackson? And I go, well, it depends. I mean, if you really need to make a big splash, he's a boomer bust kind of guy. And then within seconds of the game starting, Deshaun Jackson, 75-yard touchdown. Still, congratulations to 2 of the 3 for winning this week. And I will give a quick shout out to Jeremy from Under the Bridge, who is currently on a European vacation with Rhea of I Wine and I Know Things. Jeremy threw down a 172 this week against Dave Ritzari. So sorry, Dave, you're still in the cellar. Bro.
All right. Excellent. Congratulations to the winner. Sorry to the losers. But if it's the wrap up of FFL, it must be
last call.
Last call.
Last call. Time to clean house and lock the doors. Folks, if you want to follow us on the socials, Instagram and Facebook, We Like Drinking. Twitter, We Like Drinking 1. That's number 1. And don't forget to find us on the Tavern Facebook Tavern at welikedrinking.com/tavern. If you would like to leave us a review and let us know how good or bad we are, go to iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts. Give us a big fat 5-star review and let us know what you think about the show. And if you've done all that and you want to do more, visit welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you can throw us some scratch and help us keep the lights on, or we might be shutting them down. Now, that was not very much, but we're still going to do it and say, wait, who subscribed? Where I give these guys a quote from someone fictional or non-fictional, and they try to tell me what movie it's from. I'm so bummed that Mr. Charlie O'Connell is not here for this one, because this one was right up his alley. 3 words, gentlemen, 3 words in this week's movie quote. Here it is. Stoner bashing time. I just punched my fist. Stoner bashing time. All right, there it is. Stoner bashing time. John, you get to start this one off.
I have no fucking idea.
All right, Jeff Solomon.
Dazed and confused.
Hold on. Here's what I'll say. I believe Jeff Solomon has said this movie as an answer at least 3 times.
It's been wrong every single time.
Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind.
This is from Dude,
Where's My Car?
Dude, Where's My Car? The phrase, uttered multiple times throughout the movie, is from one Charlie O'Connell, the actor. I was looking for other movies I could use for him, and I thought I might get lucky with Jeff Solomon if I went with Unlucky Charms, or possibly with Two-Headed Shark Attack. You can find a lot of movie quotes for those movies. So I went with Dude Wears Fly.
If you want to win a podcast award, all you have to do is start a podcast where each week all you do is you just read the title of one Charlie O'Connell movie. Two-Headed Shark Attack. You guys win. You win.
Moving on. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/podcast. Or if you're on your phone, just swipe right. All right. That was a lot of fun having Charlie on the show. That was
Unlucky Charms.
Unlucky Charms. And really, folks, like for real, if you have a couple minutes and you're really looking for some entertainment, check out the Unlucky Charms movie trailer. Just please.
I think we have an after party.
Please do that for your life. Go check out the Unlucky Charms movie trailer. Tell them We Like Drinking sent you. But it's the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
If you smell something burning in the kitchen, don't worry. It's just your brain doing simple math.
Jim Solomon.
Dumps like a truck. Guys like what? All night long, let me drink my thon, baby. My thon. It's a hop from England all night long, girl. That's how the song goes, right?
Thank you for not making me stop the music for that. And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast,
where you'll never drink alone. All right, stop the music.